Welcome back. This is being filmed on Wednesday, February the 10th. Our guests in this segment are Dave Conway and Mitch Lewis Hammond. We're going to be talking about what's happening with bringing Syrian refugees into Victoria. So, Mitch, maybe, thanks both for coming. Mitch, maybe, what's happening?
Well, it's been a great community effort. There have been locally about 60 groups that have founded, just of private individuals who have aligned themselves with coordinating agencies that can forward their applications to the government. But basically you have 60 community groups, each one sponsoring one or more families, and raising millions of dollars in the process and finding all the necessaries, housing and so on, in order to invite these families to come to our community.
It's great that people can come together to do good stuff. So maybe Dave, how are the refugees who are coming to Canada chosen?
Well, there are a couple of different systems. Mitch alluded to all of these sponsoring groups, and they're all under a couple of umbrella organizations who are recognized by the government, and some of them are able to facilitate the matches with the groups that are coming in. There's the Intercultural Association, and then there's also the Anglican Diocese are the main ones. And the government has lists of ones that they call a blended sponsorship, which they will actually match you with. So, for instance, Our Lady at the Diocese basically chose, from a list that came out on a certain day. She chose the first family that will be arriving with us from that list of pre-approved refugees in Jordan. So
people's lives in the balance, eh?
Oh, it just they're just on basically they're waiting on the platform, seeing if the train stops for them.
Yeah. It's the tragedy of the situation for millions of people is, we're not even really talking about that here, but that's what's behind all of this.
Oh, the scale is boggling. I mean, there's a group down in Fairfield that had named themselves the Starfish Group. The story of the little girl on the beach with the starfish. It's a great metaphor because there's little girls on the beach picking up starfish that have been stranded when the tide's gone out and taking them one at a time out into the ocean.
Yes.
And then the
Yes.
mature grown up comes along and says that'll never make any difference. There are thousands of these starfish, and the little girl says it makes a difference to this starfish.
Mitch, how many people have arrived, I guess, in Victoria, and how many are coming?
Well, I think there's about 10 families that have come, so maybe 40 or 50 people total. By the end of the year, we might have among the privately sponsored people 300, 350 or so. But then we recently got word that there will be several hundred government-sponsored refugees as well who come in through a different program. So it's conceivable by the end of the year we might have maybe up to 500 refugees who are joining us here.
Okay. So, Dave, you asked me to ask the question, why don't we just help them stay there?
Well, that's a question we sometimes get asked. And
of course, that would probably be best for everybody if there was no war and no...
Absolutely. I mean, these aren't people who've chosen to leave their homes, but often they're not only their homes, their whole cities are in rubble, and it's a completely unsafe situation. And the whole infrastructure in so many parts of Syria is destroyed. These are people who can't get on with their lives. They can't. Their children. I was just hearing about that there are children who have not been in school for 3 or 4 years sometimes.
Kids are probably saying, hey, great, except the whole city is in rubble. So.
Yeah, well, they're in camps, and or they're living on the fringes of society in Lebanon and Jordan, and they can't get on with their lives. I mean, and of course it's not that there's any end in sight to the war as well. I mean, if everybody could see it wrapping up in any kind of reasonable amount of time, that would be a different matter. And the countries where most of the refugees are, in Lebanon and Turkey and in Jordan, are completely overwhelmed. We're talking about millions and millions of people who are in countries that are by no means as wealthy as, say, Canada.
So maybe you can just give us the numbers.
Well, I'm not
Numbers.
current. There's at least 4 million who are outside of
Yes.
Syria now, and that's probably still going up. I mean,
And,
there's 35,000 waiting at the border with Turkey.
2 million maybe in Turkey.
There are over 2 million, 2.5 to 3 million in Turkey. In Lebanon, just to imagine the scale of the thing, in Lebanon there is 1 Syrian refugee for every 4 Lebanese. So we're talking about like another Saskatchewan and Manitoba just getting added into the country.
So a huge price is being paid by everybody over there for this crazed war. Maybe Mitch, how is the larger Greater Victoria community responding to the refugees coming here?
Well, it's really amazing because each group has to raise tens of thousands of dollars to bring a family. And so there's usually a small group of people who are doing organizing, a larger group of volunteers who pitch in when they're needed, and then an even larger group of people who are donating money and goods. And so it's really thousands of people who are part of the effort totally. And it's been really a remarkable thing to be a part of. It makes me proud to live here.
Who are these people? I guess they're just everybody.
It really is, and I think we're fortunate we have people in town who feel able to take it on, and they have the means and the time to do so, and resources, able to welcome people here, and then lots of people who just pitch in as they can. And we're trying as best we can to coordinate among the different groups and make sure that all of the resources get used as profitably as possible, and so that we can invite as many people to join us as we can.
Why do you think it's been such a positive response?
Boy, it's hard to say. When in the discussions I've had, people say things like, this is what I want for when I think about my family. This is what I want someone else's family to have. This is the kind of world I want to live in. People say, I just can't sit by and watch this because, as Dave was saying, this is the largest refugee crisis really in recent times, and so it's part of a bigger process, but it's in a small way we can make a difference.
That really is a moving kind of thing. I've kind of, it's so nice that, people honestly feel that way and are doing good stuff. It's wonderful.
I think so too.
Why are things different? Like in Europe right now, they're having, I think they're kind of, well, who knows what's going on, but there are problems in Europe with Syrian refugees. And of course, in the United States, people like, Donald Trump representing a lot of people who just don't want anything, even though they're the ones who sort of caused the whole mess in the first place. So why is Canada being a bit different, or a lot different?
Well, we have family and friends in Europe that we've talked about the situation with, and it's such a completely different situation over there. To start with, Europe really is still struggling with its identity as far as immigration. They're not a country founded on immigration like
That's
Canada
right,
is, and so they have a really ambiguous and sometimes quite hostile relationship to the whole idea of people coming in who don't seem to be Italian, and so what does that mean to be Italian or to be Swiss or whatever? And the other aspect of that is that they have had the scale of and the way that the refugees from not just Syria but many other countries are pouring into Europe. It's in a completely uncontrolled, unselected way. They haven't had any choice about. People have just simply turned up on the doorstep, and they've had to deal with it. Whereas in Canada, we have the wonderful luxury of the Atlantic Ocean as a big buffer zone that we can choose who we want and how many and when. And in Europe, they're just there, and you either, what do? Drive them back into the sea, so they're having to deal with it. And there's been a huge amount of generosity in Europe and a huge amount of kindness, but the whole thing is just stretched to the limit in terms of just capacity. Germany's had over 1 million people come in. It's
amazing.
And we're struggling to try and get up to our 25,000 promise of the new government. It's the scale of the thing is mind-boggling over there.
I guess, what can people do to help? Maybe Mitch and both of you.
Well, I guess you know, people are already pitching in, but they can, among other things, they can go to the website that they're being pointed to there. There's ways of volunteering there. There's also a map that you can actually click and see the closest sponsorship group to you, so that you can get involved in your neighborhood. Chances are there's people you know who are involved with bringing refugees. But I think even beyond that, soon there will be people who are joining us who, at first glance, they may not know what to do. They may need help on the street. There may be people who look differently than people we might normally expect to encounter. And so I think we all can be ready to be welcoming, and realize that there are people here who, once we give them a helping hand for a while, they'll soon be our neighbors and friends.
Yeah, exactly, as all the rest of us kind of are. I mean, my grandparents came from Russia, so blah, blah, blah. Dave, do you want to just finish up?
Many of them certainly will be arriving with very little English, and so there will be opportunities to be patient and to help them. And certainly in practical terms, the next big stage is going to be in finding accommodation for a lot of people who are, especially the government-sponsored ones who are coming in, who don't have a support network as all of the privately sponsored ones are, and then later to help them to find employment. So, you know, everybody putting their ear to the ground, and you know, if they know of an apartment that's affordable and available, or you know, a job that can be done by somebody whose, you know, credentials aren't recognized here, or maybe doesn't have a lot of English, all of those things will really help people to integrate.
Dave and Mitch, thank you both very much, and really thanks to thousands of people who are doing great stuff. We hope we can get the same from our leadership and turn this into a better world in all ways. So thank you for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.
Thanks for having us.